who's genuine to come in there and voice their complaint. Now you have access to your city councilman. As a group, you have more of a voice than you would just writing a letter from your house. And you can find out what funds are available that can be directed to your neighborhood to solve problems, to build sidewalks, to correct whatever's going on in your neighborhood. And that way, on a small level, you're getting things done for people who need help locally. And then in an election year in my city, when there's candidates and out for review, they allow public speaking. So you can go to those meetings and raise issues personally yourself and get them on record. And newspapers, social media outlets, they need to publish stuff. You can call them with information. You can give them information in a way that they can write an article or editorial and actually get your information out there. And I did all those things and we made changes.
A couple of other things that should go without
saying.
Well,
hold on real quick. Before you go to your Chamber of Commerce or your Rotary Club or a school board meeting, city council meeting, you should understand one thing. There's already a culture and a consensus amongst the people that go there regularly. If you show up on day one without a plan and you're just going to show up and be the contrarian, you're not going to win any one of them. What I would argue, the best thing to do is to go ease in, meet the people. Don't tell them much about you in the beginning. Try to learn about them. And then go find your like-minded people that are not attending these, and you bring them with you. And then once you have, even if you had 3 people, you have 3 people that show up at these things. Now they can't bully you as easily because you have people that can co-sign for your shit. So when you start talking about things, if somebody says something, they present something that you just know is absolute horse shit, you can say, and don't just tell them, hey, that sounds like bullshit. What you do is just go, yeah, I don't know if that's exactly true. Can you continue? And you let them continue. And then what you and your crew do is you look at each other confused, like, what is this person talking about? And then you slowly start winning over the crowd. And you figure out which people you'll never win over. And you find out the people that are just there to make friends. And those people you can win over just by being likable. If you go there and you take 2 personable friends with you, and you guys are the ones that are laughing and having a good time and talking about interesting shit, the people that don't really have strong opinions are going to gravitate to you. And then what you're talking about, you're going to be a bigger influence on them. If you show up alone, you're going to get chewed up, and I don't care who you are.
And you do need to do your homework.
Guys, what Roger just said, this is what we do in California, what I've done, and my wife and I continue to do. We have California Strong Patriots. We are part of the voter ID program here in California. We're also part of Project Accountability. We're part of 1826. It's called, right now in California, there's a bunch of people that get ready to turn 18. But the first time they get the right to vote is in 2026. We want them to vote red right now because we want to split California from blue to red. So these are the kind of things that we need to do. So everyone can get involved, but like Roger says, talk to someone locally who is, and listen to what he said, guys. Make sure you have a game plan, because you have some people who have been on these boards for years. They love their power, they love their position, but more importantly, you can go there, and a lot of them are not computer literate. They don't know how to read all of the analysis of the voting things in their community, and you can come in and just help them. And that's what my wife and I have done. We help them with letters, make sure that the voting rolls are clean and everything else. Just whatever you can do to help them. Win friends, influence people to help you solve a lot of things in your local community. And that person, when they end up going to the state house, they'll bring what happens locally to the state house, and hopefully, when it gets to DC, they're going to have to locally to the Congress or to the Senate. So something that we're trying to change here.
I couldn't agree more. I think both you and Roger have hit nails on the head. I just want to repeat something you shouldn't say. Don't ever get up in front of a group of people, school board, city council, and go, I pay your salary. Number one, it just comes off as kind of bratty. Number two, it doesn't help win anybody over. And number three, you're not the first person who has ever said that to them. And saying that makes it less likely that you'll win friends and influence people.
Absolutely, Marshall. If you bring solutions, if you're going to criticize, you need to bring solutions. But I was talking to the mayor at one of those meetings, and he had gaslit the two people in front of me in line. And I looked at him, and I said, you know, you've been planning this with 4,000 hours of work and 20 of your people working on it, and you're telling us it's not going to happen. You know, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. And the guy pivoted. I never saw a politician pivot. So I said, I want to come to your community. I want to walk the streets with you. And he did it. And we had a community meeting, and we actually, 400 of us told him exactly where he was wrong. And he thought he could just win over the community, but we were organized. And we won.
Yeah, that's what organization and a solid work ethic will get you.
Well, but it's like having a second job. I'm single. I could do this after work. I could call all these people. You know, I could imagine if I had a family and children. You know, who has time for that? And that's part of the problem.
Well, David, Marshall, let me ask you a question. Do you think spending $10 billion a day is sustainable? You know, if we're taxing $7 billion worth a day and we're borrowing $3 billion a day, I mean, do you think we could get by on spending, let's say, even $4 billion a day? What demands $7 trillion in annual spending? Why can't we get away with spending $4 trillion a year? Do we ever plan on paying back the debt, or are we just going to continually, slowly, and sometimes dramatically increase the debt?
Either party who are committed to fiscal conservatism.
We do have members. We have Thomas Massey. We have Rand Paul. These are patriots. We have Chip Roy. We have many Republicans who are fiscal hawks and want to cut this borrowing and the spending.
Chip Roy have both turned themselves over in ways that are unhelpful. Rand Paul is the reason we have CRs in the Congress. So this is going to sound inane and weird, but follow me. The Senate has a rule about how you get bills. You go to the well of the Senate at first, and most things are done by unanimous consent in the Senate. And so you ask for unanimous consent for your bill. Well, if it has anything to do with list making of any kind, it doesn't matter whether it's like a list of cities for federal resources to be devoted to. It doesn't matter if it's like a list of names to get awards. Rand Paul says, I oppose. So you then, per Jefferson's rules, have to go down to the well of the Senate, and you have to read the bill. And so the author of the bill reads the bill. It's then asked of the Senate to give unanimous consent. Rand Paul stands up again. No. Which means that they either figure out how to have a filibuster, or the bill, whatever it is dead on arrival. It's not going to get an up or down vote. It's not going to get a vote in committee. And what that does is force senators who are parochial, which you need to be parochial for your state. House members represent different districts in the state. Senators represent their states first. And what ends up happening is, call it, there we go. What ends up happening is you got what's called airdropping in things. So you get these big omnibus bills that budget bills just shove together, and you get pork in these big omnibus bills. The reason you get pork in these big omnibus bills is because of Rand Paul's unwillingness to take an up or down vote on any legislation put in the chamber. Like you are more than welcome to like Rand Paul. I think Rand Paul is the only reason we have continuing resolutions in Congress. I think he's the only reason we don't operate by regular order, aside from the fact that it's politically convenient.
The only bill I know that passes unanimously is about whether you put a comma or a period within a sentence structure. Nothing of value. No meat, no nothing, nada. Tell me one, Marshall.
Off the top of my head, I don't know off the top of my head because I was something entirely different. But I will tell you what my brother has told me many a time. The idea that Congress didn't get anything done is just not true. A lot of the time they vote unanimously both the House and the Senate. It's over the most contentious issues. They can't seem to do things. It's over economical considerations of states. They can't do things. Look, I'm not saying don't.
Marshall,
Yeah, sorry.
here's something that's really interesting along these lines, right? You have people on this app that pretend to be really interested in politics, right? When you talk to them about, oh, okay, can you name your state congressional member? Your district congressional member. Can you name your state senators? The level of interest that they actually have in these things is quite low. This is why we talk about the celebrity wing of Congress. This is where the AOCs and the Rand Pauls, they get some attention. The Nancy Pelosi's, and everybody would give them attention. The people that do the work, that really do the work, that are writing policy and arguing about this stuff, nobody even knows who the fuck they are. Like, and I would even guess that the celebrity wing, nobody's really inspecting what they're all about. I would, and again, I don't need a show of hands, and I don't need anybody to argue that, oh, that's not true. But just hear me out and just ask yourself if this is true of you. Have you ever went and looked up your congressional representatives' voting record in Congress? Have you ever looked at what they voted yes for, what they voted no for, what they voted, responded as present or abstained? Please go look at that stuff and then get a more clear picture of who your representative is. Because I don't think, actually I know, it's less than 1% of this country that actually digs into this shit. And here's the thing, if you show up and you know the rules, you're going to be able to set the agenda. So all of the people that say, it's out of my hand, what can I do? There's a lot that you can fucking do. If you were to influence, let's say you have influence over 10 people in your district. Doesn't sound like a lot. But if those 10 people were to write similarly worded emails or physical letters to their representative, those letters in their mind represents a multiplier of people in that district. And so you do have a lot more say than you think. You can also participate in conversation on online forums. That's less effective, but show up to these things and make yourself look bigger than you are. Here's what you do. You want to show up to a rally where your congressional members are going to speak at? Find all of your friends and family and tell them, hey, look, just come and hang out. We'll go do something fun after, whatever fun means in your world. Maybe go to the bar. But you tell them, just come with me. And then when they show up, give them all a pre-printed T-shirt that has whatever slogan that you give a shit about, and make sure that where the cameras are at, that you guys are positioned there, and you can make 8 to 10 people look like 1,000 people if you know what you're doing. And this is the way that you actually influence policy. If you think about when people talk about the Tea Party, right? When people talk about the Tea Party like they know what the fuck they're talking about. I don't know if you guys know how it got started, the rant by Santilli that led to people being inspired to say, yeah, I'm going to organize protests. One such protest happened in Seattle back in about 2009, maybe? And it was called Porculus. It was organized by somebody that I know very well, Kelly Corinder. You can look her up. She was the first person to organize a Tea Party rally. 120 people showed up. I want to repeat that. 120 people showed up. Now that's pretty good for somebody that at that time nobody knew. She was 31 years old. She wasn't super experienced. She had a degree. She was charismatic. But she got 120 people to show up. Now in the grand scheme of things, in a country of 350 million people, that's not a lot of people. Now, it's tough to get 120 people to show up, believe me. But that 120 people lit the fucking match, And then all of a sudden, the news couldn't shut up about it. We're in 2025, and people still reference the Tea Party. Now, sadly, they reference what the Tea Party became and not what it started as. When it got hijacked by the people that were, lifers in the Republican Party, which was what it was not intended to be at all. When they started doing rallies where they had sitting politicians speaking at the rally, that's not what it was about. This was about normal folks saying, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. I want to remind you guys that one guy made a passing comment in a rant online, and an organizer in the city of Seattle got 120 people to show up, and the Tea Party movement was born. You can fucking do more than you think you can.
And we all think critical race theory no longer exists. Haha.
Thank you, Roger. I really like for people to listen to what he said. You do need to go to your voting records of your elected officials in your community. If you want, I use my Safe Vote. It gives you all of their voting records on a regular basis. I also use the Christian Coalition magazine, which gives us a great outline of how their voting records, what they voted for in the past, and what they're proposing to vote for in the future. You need to be well aware of these things. Unfortunately, a lot of us who claim, like Roger said, that we are politically astute, or we are people who really want to help change the government, we're really not involved, because we can see it clearly. We go and cast a vote, but voting is only one part of the American, what I call the experiment. But if we all got involved locally, really involved, we could really, really go and get some things accomplished and change a lot of these things. But because we don't have that much participation, and like when Roger starts speaking, Roger knows this, guys, a lot of these spaces on Clubhouse and the other platform, they're only drama rooms. But when you really get down to the nitty gritty and you're talking about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers, you're not going to have a lot of people in those spaces. And the reason why is because most people think it's boring, but they don't realize that's how you save your life. You got to have information. If you don't have information, you'll be destroyed. You'll be destroyed. That's how they can take advantage of you.
So I'm looking at this Vote Smart, and I'm looking at the gentleman that I'm running against, Darren LaHood, and it's interesting. You can sort by issue, and it's incredible how many HRs they actually vote on. And so thank you for sharing that, because I'm going to create a video. I already did a open secrets video about all the corporations that he works with, but I'm going to shoot a video with regards to this Vote Smart.
Yeah, in America, if you do that specifically for your state, you're going to get a lot more traction from your videos. And the reason why is when you start focusing just on your state, like we have 58 counties here in California. So we start focusing in the counties, and now we're getting the county representatives on blast. Like Roger said, you only need 10 to 15 people in each one of these counties to show up at the meeting, or just turn on their live streams. And a lot of you guys don't realize every one of your cities have live streaming. You can turn your live stream and check out what's going on. And when they have eyeballs on them, it changes how they vote. So there's a lot of things that we control. We all have a smartphone. We should start using it. It helps us be more smart when it comes to real data. All of us have something that we can do, and everyone has a skill. Whether you're writing a letter, whether you're doing email to the voter roll, whether you're cleaning up the voter roll, whether you knock on doors, you hang door hangers, everybody can do something. We got a lot of people voting, but not people participating.
Yeah, so I mean, I use X a lot. I don't know if anybody here uses it, but my profile is John Kitover, IL, Illinois. And it's really interesting, the merger between AI, Grok, and X as a platform itself. because you can use it to do a lot of data scraping and communication with Grok and other people, that you're trying to communicate with. So follow me on Instagram, but I'm going to pin my X account. If you're not using X, I would really encourage you to start using it, because Clubhouse is a very closed and dying app. There's not a single party hat around, and I think Mojo stated earlier that it's possible they created it anonymous so people can start clipping it and distributing it, and hopefully more people will join Clownhouse. But I want to run this campaign using Clubhouse. So if I hire AI content strategists in the top 10 towns in this district that I'm running in, I want them to come to Clownhouse and talk about their economic situation, their ambitions. I want to bring real people in who are working for their campaign and use it here on this app, because this is a free conference call. So anyways, click the Instagram link above now. Text me at 312-498-0517 if you want to help the campaign, if you want to contribute $10, or if you want to follow me on X and you want to repost some content, or if you want to create some content that you want me to repost, text me at 312-498-0517. That's my direct cell, and I hope you will join the campaign to get me into Congress so we can doge Darren LaHood and these multi-trillion-dollar debt creators.
Hey, yo, Admin, what cities are in the district you're running for?
Rockford, Illinois, Bloomington, Normal, Illinois, Peoria, Illinois, Quincy. There's about 600,000 people in the district, and it's small little towns. 15,000 people, 5,000 people, 4,000 people. I mean, small little towns, and these are people who absolutely have no voice whatsoever. And so I want to amplify their voices, because I know that Darren LaHood does not really give a fuck about them. And he doesn't, he just puts out propaganda videos of him shaking police officers' hands, veterans' hands. The guy has created $20 trillion in debt in 10 years. Every year we create $2 trillion in debt. He's been in Congress 10 years. That's $20 trillion of voting for debt creation. 20 trillion. Microsoft is valued at $4 trillion. He created 5 Microsofts out of thin air. And that's not just a little problem. That is a catastrophic civilization ending problem.
Are you near Charlevoix and Traverse City, Ariana? You know where I'm talking?
No, I don't know.
Money talks, shit walks. That's why.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the people who win elections, they are able to buy millions of dollars in Google ads, Meta ads. They have very sophisticated online ad targeting operations. They're constantly putting out content, and they have a huge team. I'm just one guy with a decentralized group of people on Clownhouse that used to hate me, but still probably hate me. And the fact that Marshall and David, every time you bring up a bigger issue, they always give you back the micro, which is get local, go to your local parent teachers association. No, that's not how we fix the bigger problem. The bigger problem is in Washington, D.C., and it is your congressperson or your senator who keeps creating omnibus multi-trillion-dollar acts. This is theft and fraud against future generations. And it's huge financial giveaways and huge windfall profits for the recipients of these multi-trillion-dollar acts, let alone the amount of fraud it creates. The PPP package, that loan, was $1.8 trillion in fraud. A lot of Clownhouse scum on this stupid app. A lot of these people got hundreds of thousands of dollars in federal loans. And it's, the recoupment rate on all that fraud it's next to nothing. So we are the problem. These acts and all this money we create out of thin air and give away is the problem.
Yeah, America.
So hold on real quick, Ed. I just want to say, I agree that you need to speak to the people that are spending all this money. That being said, this is where I disagree with you and where I do agree with Marshall. The local scene, what you get there is you get the small wins. You build a bench of people that believe in these issues. They start getting the small wins, but then they also build up this credibility cocktail where they can move upstream. the reason why you don't see people with ideas like yours or mine winning at the state level is because the people that win at the state level are identifiable because they were a known entity that was winning at a lower level. And so I would say that there's people like yourself that have to take the fight, to the top, but you also need people like Marshall that are going to attack it at the local level. Because you do need to build a bench and you need to build credibility, because unfortunately, it's not just the idea that prevails. Most people that vote, they look to see which way the wind is blowing. Most voters, they only care, and this is going to sound crazy, but it's true, and the data will back this up. They want to know who's going to win so they can vote for it. If it's close, and this is why we're so divided right now, is that when it's close, then people don't know who's going to win. They have plausible reason to believe that their candidate that sides with them can win. And this is where you get them, clinging more to the issues that they care about. But back in the day when it wasn't close, when Ronald Reagan was winning 49 out of 50 states, there were definitely people that were lockstep into the agenda of Ronald Reagan, and then there were a lot of people that were just caught up in the moment. They were just like, okay, we're voting for this guy, and I think the country actually operates better, believe it or not, when we do have a consensus on which direction we're supposed to go. That doesn't mean all Americans are going to agree on it, but it tends to work better when we're in agreement. Right now, those narrow margins that we see at the state level in these elections, this is what's causing the division, because it's very contentious and they're fighting for every fucking inch. And this is why, because every inch is important, this is why new ideas are relevant, because the parties, you notice the Republican Party created a much quote unquote bigger tent this time. The reason they created a bigger tent is because they can't afford to alienate people that have ideas like the ideas that we've been sharing in this room.
Yeah, and on that same vein, American, you need a foundation, like you said, you need a bench. What happens at the higher level happens first in the local level. So whatever counties in Illinois that you're going through, you got to make sure you have that bench of people, because those are the people that's going to get to change what's happening at the top. Yes, you're right. There's a lot of things that's going on, but at the same time, you got to realize that if you do not have that foundation, whatever you build is going to collapse. So you want to make sure you get that foundation. Local. And yes, what's happened in your state house and ultimately what happens in Congress and the Senate is there. So we just need to make sure that that's happening. Whatever you're doing, what I say, I'm not a person that's ever going to run. My wife wouldn't let me in the first place, and I respect her voice in my life. But one of the things I always say, people who do run, whatever you do, don't criticize the other party or the other person. Talk only about what you do, because the fuel that you get from always focus on what you're going to do, people will always respect you. The moment you get into the dirt and all of the, bashing the other person and what they're doing, they want to know solutions. And when you give people solutions, they'll support you. So it's one of the areas. There's a way to allow someone else to attack, but if you're the person running America, don't be the attack dog. Get someone else to do it, and it changes you. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have learned that here on Clown House. I would say El Normo has been great in giving me, suggestions on how to communicate with people who I can get agitated with. But I agree with you. And, I just think that the spending problem, the borrowing and the spending problem, is the fact that none of these major issues that have come up would be possible without all the borrowing and spending, particularly COVID-19. Pfizer even threw out like $30 billion worth of inventory that the government paid for. The fact of the matter is, I'm pretty much against big pharma and big health insurance. The middleman in health insurance and the amount of money they take from us every year is insane.
No, I agree. But can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a question I have. Where do you think all these things happen? Do you think they happen in a vacuum? See, every group needs customers. We, the people, are their customers. And if you don't inform your citizenry, we're going to miss out. We have 50 independent countries. 50 independent states here in our country. 50 independent states. We're supposed to have 348 million independent people. We don't. We have a lot of people that are drugged by government. Really drugged. I'm not talking about like big pharma. I'm talking about they believe that government is going to solve their issues and solve their problems. This is where you got to get to the local community to let them know that they're responsible for their life. That's the most important thing. And too many people don't do that. So we can talk all day about the big problems, but if you don't start attacking the people that can change it, because you need all those voters, those local people that really don't understand themselves and they don't understand how government actually operates. And that's where you're going to really find it. And too many, what I call people politicking, don't teach governance. I try to share with people in California, you're responsible for your own life. No one's coming to your rescue. And don't expect government to govern your life. In politicking, like what Joe B's talking about, critical race theory is politics. Okay? If you don't get people involved that don't understand that, then they're going to miss out. Because you got to learn how to teach people that there's no. We know that critical race is being taught, but if you don't realize that you're an independent human being, you're going to miss out on a lot of things. What I believe is responsibility, not my race.
So something that I think gets missed, like when independents or third parties are running, the missed opportunity is in building that infrastructure. So let's say if you have people that come to your door and say, hey, I heard what you had to say, I want to help, what can I do? Oftentimes they're met with, oh, well, I don't know. And you don't have a job for them. I would go look at what churches do. If you walk into any church in America that's well organized and you just say, oh, it's my first time here, somebody in that church is going to talk to you and figure out why you came, what it is that you need, where you're at in your life. And the moment that you hint that you'd like to get involved in some way, they will have a job for you to do immediately. And so the important thing to remember is that if you're building a campaign or a movement, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and you need to be familiar with all of the little things. So let's say somebody comes that is probably not the type of person that you want to put on a panel speaking about issues, but they want to help. You find ways that they can help, and you tell them, hey, would you be willing to organize a sign wave where you just get people that literally all they have to do is show up at a location with signs that you've designed and then just wave the signs. Now you might say, fuck sign waves. The point is you're building an organization where you're giving people an assignment of what they can do. And then from there, you can identify what their skill set is and how else they can help. Maybe they have some administrative skills. Maybe they are a good public speaker. But you have to give them a purpose. You have to give them something to do immediately to get plugged in.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's basically like starting a Scientology organization or a direct response marketing campaign. And, you can't lose them. They're going through my funnel, essentially. But, I'm going to post ads on Craigslist soon to the top 10 towns and try to recruit political activists in the government section of Craigslist and post maybe job ads in Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of little ways to try to spam the people in these towns. I think Facebook Marketplace could be a good place to do it even. So it is about creating that network. I'm using Wix to do the website right now. It sucks. So in terms of campaign volunteer lead capture or voter lead capture, I have to, get all that created and put up and promote it. So it is a lot of work. It's basically like starting an online business. And, but It's what it is. So I thank you, Roger, for maybe helping me, in the future and right now as well. And I think even like, for the, because I'm filming all of this, it is content. So, but it's like dead content, meaning that no one is even watching it. And let alone nobody in Peoria or Rockford, the top two towns, know my name. So it's a huge upward journey over till March of next year. So August, September, October, November, December. I mean, I've got basically 5 months to get 2,500 ballot signatures, and lead this campaign, because the other enemy of mine is the weather. It's impossible to do any type of transportation basically January and February leading up until the primary. So all this work has to get done over the next 150 days. So if anybody is interested in helping me with this campaign to get into Congress, text me at 312-498-0517 or go to johnforcongress.com. I just have a little mission statement on there on that Wix website. Or follow me on Instagram at instagram.com/John Kitover. Just go to IG and type in JOHNKIT over. Add me there and message me there. And I will reply. And Clubhouse has been a 5 to 6 year journey now of really putting up close to 40,000 videos of Clubhouse, recordings and conversations, generating millions of views. And it's been a fun art, comedy, and political project, because I think in the back of my mind, I always knew that, creating all this content, even if I don't have a lot of followers, the guy I'm running against has equally not a lot of followers. But he does on Facebook, over 22,000 likes on his Facebook page. So he probably ran meta ads. But my point is, in terms of like establishing credibility or doing research on what people are talking about or what, the political sentiment is, but also really just trying to rectify myself in terms of, what agitates me, what triggers me, what gaslights me. Can I listen to people, sling all kinds of nonsense and still remain, calm and be cool? Like somebody said earlier, don't attack the man or the woman, attack the idea and present solutions to address people's concerns and what's happening. So I think we're in a debt spiral. And I think that, we're going to fuck around. We're fucking around and we're going to find out what it means to go to 40 trillion, to 50 trillion in debt, to 60 trillion in debt. It's people in 2050, 2070 that may see, an extremely new set of rules that they have to abide by, because the United States of America is diminishing in its liberty and its power, and basically giving it all up to an international banking cartel, which is separate from our own government. So I think Trump is doing the right thing. And his meeting with Chairman Powell, where he's showing him, a multi-billion-dollar overrun on a piece of paper. Powell looked like a clown. Trump looked like the boss. So a lot of it is about framing and, communication and transparency. And Massey and Rand Paul are calling to audit and end the Fed. I mean, Rand Paul today just said, he thinks we're in the early stages of ending the Federal Reserve. So this is, I think now is the biggest pivot point in American history, because either we're going to keep running this debt up and borrowing and spending, or we are going to essentially reestablish American liberty and, freedom for we the people. I mean, because it's ours. And unfortunately, if we don't demand more and possibly be greedier, we're going to give it all away and nobody's going to get anything. So those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. Thank you.
Edward Lynn, I haven't seen you on this app for a long time. How you been, man? Guess Mr. Lynn is not around.
He's in the death care business.
Oh, he's at the doctor's visit. Got it.
No, I'm saying he's he runs a mortuary business. But Anthony, let me ask you, if you were the president of the United States of America, what would you do for we the people?
I do. For we the people, my top priority as president would be to address the deficit. So it would be a combination of raising revenues, which, I like the idea of tariffs, believe it or not, I'm a fan. I like the idea of cutting government, huge cuts, savage cuts. I don't want like a means test for Social Security. I don't think we should just send out Social Security to everybody that paid into it. If you did really well, tough titty, you don't get Social Security. God bless you. I would
Balance the
I
books.
would raise taxes on the wealthy. I wouldn't cut taxes like the big beautiful bill did. I more so would raise taxes, and I would really look hard at government spending, a la what Doge was kind of intended to do, and I would just have to come to grips with the fact that this thing has turned into a monstrosity. So that's what I would do for the people. My legacy would be at least getting us headed in the right direction on the deficit.
Mojo, I got a question for you with regards to tariffs and imports. I don't know if you follow Peter Schiff, but my question to you is with regards to reciprocal tariffs, or just give a hypothetical, the car import and export and manufacturing industry. If China doesn't allow us to import, whether it's financial services or auto cars we manufacture, don't you think that tit for tat or reciprocal tariffs, or our group, our cartel of manufacturers, we're going to help push the Chinese in a direction that's good for our business, our businesses. So how do you essentially do reciprocal tariffs, or how do you use tariffs strategically to get our exports into countries that are rejecting our exports?
So, I guess the exports thing is a conversation that I'm not an expert on it, but when you think about the tools, the instrument of a tariff, and if you take Trump at his word of what it is that he's trying to, the problem he's trying to solve for, I think the best thing we can hope for is when you take somebody like, you take China, for example, where they have this aggressive plan to put a massive automobile plant right on the American border in Texas. And then immediately after the tariffs were announced, the plans of that facility went away. I think the follow-up conversation needs to be, hey, you want to avoid tariffs? Why don't you put that plant you were thinking of putting on the border, why don't you put that in Detroit? And some people will balk at that and say, wait a minute, you want to help a Chinese company sell automobiles? Well, if a Chinese company could create American jobs, I wouldn't care if they made money doing it. I think that you're either going to have to draw a hard line in the sand and say we don't want to fucking do anything with China, or we say if you want to participate in this consumer base, rather than the tariffs, a better option would be, why don't you create American jobs? Which, by the way, I think we're headed towards. There's a lot of talk that Xi is out of power soon, and the folks that are likely to take over are less chummy with Russia and absolutely more keen on repairing relationships with the West. And if this is true, it could be very, very interesting, including there's a contentious border that China and Russia share, that China, as part of their 100-year plan, was to annex this land and get it back. With a weakened Russia because of the mistakes that Putin's making, if we became really friendly with China again, that could give, if they knew that they didn't have to have international condemnation, and maybe we would even condone it, you could see China just go and annex parts of Russia. And I know that might sound ridiculous to people, but you should go and read what people in China are saying about this. In fact, they're saying that now is the best time for them to do it because the Russian military is busy. And the only way, the only capability they would have to even try to stop it would be nuclear weapons. But I don't think that they would do that with China because, that would end that. So I think all of this fear mongering around China could be coming to an end. And if it does, we may end up seeing history write the narrative that Donald Trump is the greatest president of all time because of the tensions that happened prior to him coming in, and his focus was on bringing China back, to be a good player on the international scene. And if that happens, like the history books, unless they want to lie about it, they would have to say that that Trump is one of. If this all happens, if it plays out, Trump becomes in the argument for the greatest president of all time.
So I think that G is absolutely out. His days are without a doubt numbered. I think the people waiting in the wings are way, way, way more pro-America, America friendly than G's ever been. Luck is always a factor in the way you're remembered historically. And I do think that there is going to be an opportunity for Trump to be looked at as as shockingly as it may seem, one of the greatest presidents in history, hands down. There's so many predictions about the tariffs, what they were going to do to the economy, that have proven thus far not to be true at all. There's so much in terms of they don't even give him flowers on the most basic level for the stuff that he is accomplishing. Such as the revenues raised by tariffs. If like it, hate it, I'm not a fan of the big beautiful bill. But let's be honest, he's a politician. He needed some kind of signature legislation. This was the most palatable thing that he could get through. He barely got it through. Barely. Like a tie break in the Senate. A couple of votes in the House. This was not an easy sell. So, yeah, what do we want gridlock? Do we want to, constantly go to the 11th hour and ask for, some kind of temporary spending measures? That's not effective. So, given the hand that he had, he's playing the cards the best way he knows how. And, love it, hate it, whatever, it's thus far, it's been pretty darn effective. He's one of those people that believes that returning the money to the public as opposed to the government spending the money is preferable. He thinks that the government is.
He hasn't done that.
So when I say that the reason why I make the argument he's done that, Roger, is by cutting taxes. That is taking money from the government's coffers and returning it to the people. So I don't think that we can debate whether or not he's cut taxes. I think that's self-evident. So I say, yes, he has done that. Are you rebutting that?
I support the tax cut, but a tax cut doesn't do what you just said. The tax cut refers to giving people a break on what they need to pay. Nobody's getting a fucking refund.
I'm not suggesting that people are getting a refund. What I'm saying is tax cuts raise less revenue through taxes, and they return the money. The less revenue that's raised comes back in the form of Americans having more money in their pocket. They can now potentially, do that addition to the house that they've been putting off, but now they find themselves with more, and therefore stimulating the economy, therefore raising overall revenue.
I'm not opposed to tax cuts. The problem is when you don't have spending cuts. The bigger problem that we have to address is that we have a spending issue, and the biggest mistake that Trump has made is with this fight that he's having. You have to cut more spending if you're going to take in less money and continue to spend. In fact, spend more money. Then what you're doing is actually kicking the can down the road, and you're creating a bigger problem for our kids and our grandkids. And that to me is immoral. It's certainly not sound economics, for sure. What the Big Beautiful Bill did not help the economy. In fact, what it does is, because he didn't, make massive cuts, and honestly, he's just feckless when it comes to the most important thing. If you're going to get serious about cutting the deficit, what you have to do is you have to look realistically at what are the biggest expenses that we have: Social Security and Medicare. And until he gets out there and makes significant cuts to those two things, he's not serious about the economy. Those are the two things that we have to whack in.
Word for word, line for line, bar for bar, I agree with everything you just said. This is when I was asked by America, what would I do? I succinctly said the same thing you said. Absolutely, we're on the same page. Means test, Social Security, cuts, raising age, a bunch of different things to lessen the burden of Social Security.
How about this? What if we just admit that it's a Ponzi scheme, and we say that those that have paid into it for whatever, we're gonna make sure that you are made whole, but we're gonna stop the 6.25% tax, and we're going to draw down, and instead of the trust fund going broke in 2035, by 2035 there will be no new people added to Social Security. What do you think?
Well, let me add,
I think it's a radical idea.
Anthony, let me interrupt you real quick and ask Mojo a question. Mojo, don't you think that doing huge cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, or the NDAA, let's say we cut spending by 40%, in 1 year. I mean, it's just imaginative, fictional thought, in the same way that young Bima yesterday, has these fantastic anarchic type of visions. Like, it's not going to happen. And what I'm saying is, like, in a way, like, if you do cut spending, dramatically and drastically, will it create the anarchy that we think it's holding back?
The answer to that is that we have three choices here. Three choices that I can identify. If you want to identify a fourth choice, that's fine. We can continue what we're doing today, and we will slowly die. We could increase spending dramatically and accelerate the doomsday scenario, or we can try to acknowledge the problem and alleviate it and dramatically cut the spending. I understand that status quo is the most likely scenario and that slow death. I'm saying that somewhere along the line, I'm hoping that a bold, innovative, charismatic leader will emerge that can give us the tough talk that we need and can let people know that, like, these are the choices. And, while everybody else has been, for electability's sake, has just said, let's continue to to kick the can down the road. And then if you could just illustrate at what point in time all of this does collapse, and let people know that, look, this is going to be on your kid's lap, on your grandkid's lap, that the American experiment could end if we don't fix this. And so I think it's dire enough for us to at least fucking try. But if you're asking me, do I think it's likely that it happens? No, the answer is no. I think that there are people that are more interested in the immediate grift and the power grab that they can do now than they are about fixing and sustaining the economy of the United States of America. I'm acknowledging that it's unlikely, but I think it's important enough to try to take that puncher's chance.
So, Roger, I'll be honest with you. I think that the scenario you said as the most likely, that, kick the can down the road, is clearly, where we're headed. I don't think that this will ever see a charismatic enough leader that's going to sell what needs to be done to the American people. It's just, I don't like, our system is structurally set up to prevent that from happening. It just won't happen. Now, there's a different problem that I think that's really coming to the fore, and it's coming really fast. I feel that the system is broken. The game is already over. It's not even, it's like we might be worried about the wrong thing. I think that we are going to have to fundamentally change the idea of America. I think we're going to have to become a socialist nation. I think that when you combine artificial intelligence and automation, that there is no other path forward. I just don't see the amount of real jobs, labor.
Wait, Anthony, I want to interrupt you real quick. Mojo, can you maybe address what Anthony is saying? Because he thinks we're going to become a socialist nation. Can you tell him what Milton Friedman would say with regards to economic theory and philosophy and optimization and productivity? Can you maybe give him an economic response to his socialistic, perspective?
Yeah, I mean, if we head in that direction, then we lose all of the incentives to become more efficient, to do the things that would lower prices for consumers, that would invest in R&D. You would essentially erode all of the incentives that would lead to things that would allow you to stay on top. If we head down that road, what we're essentially going to say is that we're going to, instead of investing in growth, instead of trying to innovate the best products and the things that can change our future in a positive way, we are going to then, instead, we're going to waste the money by spreading it among the people. And I think what you're going to find is the inefficiency of doing that is going to just accelerate the collapse. I don't think that solves a single problem, and there's not a single example on a global scale that you can point to where people become more efficient because of these types of policies.
So, Raj, do you see another path forward? Like, given the daunting scale of artificial intelligence, do you see another way out of this scenario?
Yes, we win the AI war and win it significantly by allowing. I would deregulate the fuck out of the market and allow innovation to be the investment. And we have to win the AI and the robotics war. And when we do that, I think that there could be force multipliers of revenue that we see from that. Because one of the biggest expenses that we have is labor. there's a world in which we don't necessarily need to work because the companies would become so fucking profitable. Now, that would lead you into this conversation about, well, okay, then we'll have UBI. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe what emerges is is an economy, because everything that happens, has secondary and third, impacts. And what I would say would be more realistic is that when the labor work is being performed by machines, I think that the economy is going to turn into nothing but service and entertainment. I actually can envision the world being a much better place where you have more people playing guitar, playing drums, singing, drawing, dancing, and more people wanting to consume that. And I think that entertainment and service, hospitality, is going to be how human beings are going to thrive moving forward. That's what I think.
So, Roger, I would state that there's just not enough entertainment and or service to keep people earning enough to have the economy continue the way it's been going. I think that there's a peak to how much entertainment and service you can have.
I think you missed the key. Maybe you missed the part that I didn't say out loud, that I thought, but I inferred that solves for this, is that if AI and robotics make us as productive as I think it will, we won't need to tax human beings. The human beings won't need to fund the government, won't need to fund the military or infrastructure or any of those things, because the productivity that gains that we see from AI and from robotics, everything will be funded, and people will be allowed to, if you had no taxation in your life, imagine the burden that's lifted, and how much more free you would be to participate in the activities that you enjoy.
Roger, what I'm saying to you is that there won't be any taxes because there won't be anyone working, because the efficiency of the artificial intelligence and the robots, there won't be anyone earning income. So the idea of taxes, it's irrelevant. This is what I think you're missing. Like, this, people won't earn an income. There won't be labor. There won't be opportunities to differentiate yourself in a capitalistic system. And
Anthony, Mojo is presenting the greatest possible utopian vision imaginable, and it's so imaginative. I mean, he's claiming that it solves income problems because of the productivity increase. But Mojo, don't you think that's a utopian vision you have?
No, it fundamentally doesn't. And before we get to utopia, let's talk dystopia. Let's talk about the dystopia. Where are people earning money from that they aren't paying taxes on? This is the part that's missing. This is very odd to me.
Well, Anthony, can I ask you a question? Are you a free market person?
I'm a free market person, but I'm saying to you that automation is going to kill that.
Okay, but let's back up. So you said you're a free market. What and how do you currently have investments? What do you currently invest in?
My primary investment is in real estate.
Okay, so that's a good one, because they're not making any more real estate, right? So at one point, people are still going to need housing. That means someone still has to build it, and if the robots break down, someone has to build them. But this is my question outside of real estate. Do you know the majority of Americans who are actually earning money do not do that on a job? They do that through investment?
Okay, so Edward, this is what I want, like, succinctly. I want you to explain to me how people are going to earn money. This is, I don't like companies, stock market. revenues, price to earnings. Where are these earnings coming from? How can consumers consume if they can't earn money to consume? These are very basic things that I'm trying to understand.
I know, but Anthony, I think when you say basic things, okay, what if I understand where you're coming from? You don't think that we're going to be able to produce anything. You're so private sector so public sector that you think the private sector in innovation. Roger just told you, if we go out and innovate, which has made America what it is today, the human being will always be a producer. That's not going to stop. And just because we have a tool called AI, that tool was created by us. It doesn't create itself. And regardless of what you and I think,
you're wrong. It does create itself. Robots building robots.
Andrew, hold on. I want you to hear yourself, because I don't know why we actually personally believe that AI is the what's the word I want to use? Roger, AI is what?
Okay, but will that AI and all this AI that's going to make DMVs, for example, really efficient, right? Because
a larger scale of the Industrial Revolution. I mean, if you think about the Industrial Revolution, we were able to we could replace physical labor with machines, right? And now we're going to be able to replace some jobs that required thought. When we replaced the labor, the physical labor with machines, the economy actually grew. There's really no example. You might see some jobs disappear, but this catastrophe that people are calling for, that they think that, or that they're making this prediction that there will be less jobs because of this, I think that what we don't know is what this is going to enable in terms of new jobs. I think it's going to free people up to be more innovative. And I personally believe that if you look at human history, if you look at all the great inventions that we've made in the past, while they might disrupt a particular sector or two, they ultimately end up creating way more jobs than they.
Roger, I would have agreed with you prior to what's going on now. It is completely different this time. And I don't think we are.
Anthony, I mean, haven't you heard of the expression, there's nothing new under the sun, Anthony?
America, respectfully, bro, how about this, right? I would like you to add your ideas to the discussion. I'd like to have something meaty from you so I can chew into it and say, okay, this is what he believes. I have no idea what you believe. I hear cheerleading, I hear, question asking. I don't know what your opinion is. I don't even know if you have an opinion. I would love to hear.
You don't think I have an opinion?
These are my thoughts. I don't know if you have. I haven't heard one yet. And I'm not trying to be funny or criticize you. This is a crazy small stage. This is a beautiful environment for us to really talk freely. And I want to know what your ideas are. How do you feel about AI and robotics? What do you know about AI and robotics? Why do you think that it's going to lead to, instead of job destruction, to job growth? These are the reasons I believe that this is going to happen. And I can say, well, I'm going to counter it with X, Y, and Z. That's what I'd love to do that.
So Anthony, here's the thing. Here's what's on my side, is that at no time in human history has creating more efficient tools eliminated more jobs than it's created. And so I have the historical evidence that creating efficiency tools creates more jobs. What do you have to support your argument that we're going to have less jobs?
Okay, so what I have is a paradigm shift unlike anything we've ever seen. What I'm saying to you, this is not like anything that came before it. It would make sense if it wasn't a situation where the AI can actually exceed us in every facet. Everything. It can do way better than us, way faster than us.
It can't even create a fucking image of a human being without putting 8 fingers on it.
Okay. Roger, if we were to stop and we were to talk about where AI is currently, it's in its infancy. This is brand spanking new. The idea that, the image problems that they were having in 2022 still exist in 2025, I would vehemently disagree with that. But that's like, Roger, I hear a lot of Luddite arguments right now that shows a fundamental. Yeah, Edward, I can't talk at the same time as you can. I really can't. So yeah, with that said, like I hear this is like it's like we're talking about stuff that I guess maybe some people just don't get. They don't have their fingers on the pulse.
Anthony, if I can respectfully interrupt you, I want to respectfully interrupt you, Anthony, and ask you a quick question. What do you think the following saying means? If you can say it, it is not true. What do you think that saying means? If you can say it, it is not true. What do you think that ancient Native American saying means to you?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, when I say if you can say it, it is not true, that means you're kind of doing what a lot of other people do here with this all or nothing AI position statement. A lot of people think America's going to collapse. And a lot of people say that America's going to disintegrate in 10 years. And you know what I say to those people, Anthony? If you can say it, it is not true. So, the more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you're going to get. And I think you could go all day with this all or nothing position on AI and robotics. And so again, I'll just say, if you can say it, it is not true. So I would question what you think you're saying.
And respectfully, the same thing, Anthony. Roger asked you a direct question. Please explain the jobs that is going to create.
Okay, no, he did. My position is that AI is going to destroy jobs. Roger didn't ask me to explain the jobs that it's going to create because that goes against my position, Edward. What I'm saying to you is like, whether if we're talking about, just name a profession. Name a profession. If we're talking about like surgeon, one second, Edward. I'm literally still talking. I'm deferring to the mods, but I'm still talking right now. So here's what's up. If we're talking about surgeons, there's going to come a point at which people are going to look back and say, I can't believe you actually let a human being operate on you. That was the craziest shit I ever heard in my life. Whether we're talking about transportation, we're going to come to a point where truck drivers, cars will not be controlled by human beings. It will be, the insurance companies won't allow it. They will not. It's going to be so cost prohibitive that they're not going to allow people to drive. There's so many industries, man. I'm trying to find an industry where AI is not going to have an impact. I think that's where I think that's a more interesting conversation.
Can I give you one?
Plumbing.
Yeah, plumbing.
AI can absolutely do plumbing, electrician, HVAC. It can absolutely do all of that.
Okay, so hold on.
With robotics, absolutely.
Okay, Anthony. Okay, we have storms, right? I want to ask you a question. Please explain to me from the storm viewpoint. Earthquakes, high rises falling, all kinds of different things. I live in California. We had a bunch of fires going on. What is going to prevent all these things, and how is AI going to handle those particular items? And right now, with all the flooding that just took place and everything else, where and how are we going to use your robotics, your AI, to help all the natural events that actually take place? Because we need people to really go on those polls and change all that. But you're clearly basically saying, and I make sure I'm understanding, that all that is going to be replaced by AI.
So, if we're talking about search and rescue, the artificial intelligence enabled robots will be better than any human being, any dog sniffing, that's looking for people. It will identify the faintest heartbeats from the furthest distance, and it's going to be able to excavate and move stuff that the average human being could not move, and find and search and rescue people. And this is not. It'll have LiDAR and radar type sensors that can look beneath debris and find human beings. And I don't understand, is that climbing poles? This is what you got? This is the best that you got? We can do so much better, Edward. This is Edward. It's not.
Anthony, you can't do that. Okay, Anthony, listen. Right now, we got men all over the country who still climb poles. What you're sharing with me, I hear you loud and clear. But again, we have new innovation. We have robotics. We have all these things which were created by the human being. Okay? That's who created it. Okay? Don't get it twisted. I don't know why we're limiting and want to replace us with a robot. I just don't understand. You said, climbing the pole, is that the best I have? Yes, that's the best I have. You know why? Because there is nowhere in the world you're replacing Edward. Okay? And yet, I will use the tools. I will. Yes, you got to do it. You can laugh at it. At the end of the day, we got laughter, man. Because listen, this is probably why most of us right now are not critical thinkers, because we're relying on the AI and the robots. Go ahead, Joe.
Joe, you got it. I'll go after you.
So I'll be short. I was involved with the first set of internet development, and it began by humans inputting all of the data that got it up and going, and expanded now today into AI. So the more and it expanded because, quote, the internet has run out of space in terms of collecting the data, and now AI is taking over to expand it. It's the new generation of computerization. You got to get used to it. I don't like it. It's what it is.
Joe, respectfully, I have no idea what you just said. This idea that the internet ran out of space, I don't know what you mean by that.
All right, I'll expand. The internet was only developed to answer questions, not theorize or critical think, air quotes. AI is being utilized to critically think. Ask anyone who is in IT in the military. Just ask them.
If we want efficiencies, the efficiencies have to be applied to the government. The amount of accounting and bookkeeping required just to file your taxes. Have you seen the IRS hand manual, the micro print, the thousands of pages of information? It's incomprehensible and unusable. It means nothing to the average person filing a tax return. So again, a lot of this comes out to Congress, your senator, and your congressman, borrowing from the Federal Reserve to continue funding a broken system that enslaves you, traps you, and causes you more work than you need to do. Should you spend 2 days out of your annual year filing your taxes and getting your car's emissions tested? They waste our time on shit that technology can clearly and easily resolve. And we're all paying property taxes and income taxes to fund a government that is borrowing on top of the money we're already giving them. This insanity has to come to an end. It's my opinion. But people who are all or nothing on AI, it's like you think the reality just got invented or something. I mean, this is tens of thousands of years of progress to get here. And just because there's an AI chatbot that can create incredibly well-formulated sentences and respond to you, don't be easily confused with regards to intelligence and spam. ChatGPT and the way people use it is like rats in a fucking cocaine testing box. It's dopamine and spam, and it's not making people smarter. It's making people into automatons.
All right, cool story, bro. You know, I want to talk about like practical.
You know what? Cool story to you, Anthony. Go ahead and tell us your cool story, sir. I can't wait to hear your cool story. Go ahead.
No problem.
Go ahead. Let's hear this cool story, Anthony.
There's no problem. I'm happy to tell my cool story, right? My cool story is like one of the most innovative, prolific inventors known to man, Elon Musk, has been promising self-driving vehicles for over a decade. Over a decade now. This would not be possible. We would not reach robo-taxi level of autonomy were it not for the innovation of artificial intelligence. We could not program our way into self-driving vehicles. There was too many edge cases, too many weirdo scenarios that you just could not program for. Tesla has more video data behind the wheel of an automobile than any other company in the world. It has fed that data into its supercomputers, and it has taught these cars how to drive orders of magnitude better than human beings. This is the practical
Cool story, bro.
American, I'm sorry if I hurt you. I was just messing around. I didn't mean anything by it. It's a small stage. I don't want to.
Well, the point is park your car. The point is park your car, sir. Since we have this incredible supercomputer, get to your point, Dr. Anthony.
No, American. Brother, I specialize in disrespect. I'm really good at it. I'm really, really good at it. All right? We have 6 people on stage here telling me to park my car. If you want me to get live, I'll get live with you. That's what I do.
Go ahead, Anthony. Get live.
Thank you for the moderation, Mojo.
Well, listen. I just want to make sure everybody feels that there's not imbalance here in this conversation. I don't mind if it turns contentious, or if you guys settle your differences a different way. But I'm here. I got my pop. Let's go.
I love it.
Hey, Dr. Anthony, can we bring in AI to help us out? Because, we need to monitor this because we can't do it on our own.
Edward, humor is not your strong suit, man. You're a very pious man, and I have the utmost respect for you. But, like every man has his limitations, and clearly you have
Thank you.
Maybe you can have AI write you some jokes, man.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Anthony, I'm just.
I got a question. Who do we think Edward would be most like in terms of TV dads? Would he be Mr. Winslow? Would he be Mr. Huxtable? Who do we think? Maybe on Good Times. Who is the TV dad that Edward is most like? Anthony, what do you?
I'm going with Cliff Huxtable. That's what I'm going with. With the lovely Claire Huxtable, the lovely super cute family, and the kids that are all have done they're positive contributing members of society. That's what I'm on.
I was going with Mr. Brady, Roger.
I was gonna say perhaps Ward Cleaver.
Yeah, there you go. Now we talking, see? Now you're giving me some real steam now. There you go. I take Mr. Cleaver anytime.
See, I don't think Bill Cosby would even be close to an accurate representation. You know, I watched that show a lot as a kid, and in hindsight, and knowing what he did to women, whether it's true or not, you know, he's free. But I don't ever remember God ever being mentioned on the Cosbys, not even once. And it's sad that
Granted, that is true, but I don't know which TV dad we can point to where God was featured prominently
well,
in there.
isn't it Family Matters with Steve Urkel and that dad? He seemed like a Bible believer in the South Side of Chicago. He was a cop. But Bill Cosby, I wonder if that show is kind of indicative of who he is as a person, which is a predator.
Do you guys ever watch Rock?
Yeah, that's a good point. He didn't have any kids. Then he had kids. He had kids. I do think that you could.
There's an episode you guys should Google where some drug dealer comes to the house and he like throws them out of the house. It was pretty badass. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty badass, but I don't think Edward's that volatile. I don't see the like that.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm going to tell you in my lived experience, and I've been told that that's the most important framing for any conversation, is that the people that speak softly and the people that remain calm, there's a trigger that can be pulled. And I would imagine that if you did the wrong thing, the thing that stepped over the line with Edward, I think there's a line you could cross where you would see a different version of him, and it's probably something that is uncomfortable for him.
You know, one day Edward came into a room that I frequent and tried the Bible thumping, and they kicked him out of that room so fast. Edward that shit was the funniest shit in the history of club.
I know, but Anthony, remember, this is the challenge that we have, that people don't want discourse. That's the funny thing.
Edward, I figured it out. The Steve Harvey show. You could be Steve Harvey, for sure.
Let me just be Edward. I like that one. But Roger, I do appreciate the fact that you are associating me with different characters on television. I live in Hollywood. I live in California. But Anthony, you're correct. But I'm going to still go back to Anthony. The discourse is better, and you and I can go back and forth always, because I respect the fact that you have your own views, your own belief system. But when you go into a space and people don't even allow you to share whatever position you have, to me that tells me that you're weaker, you're not stronger. Because if you believe something and someone challenges your belief system and you can't stand up for it, why do you believe it?
Edward, I agree with you, and I wasn't happy that you got thrown out. It was just funny to me how it went down, because it's like you were that voice of, from a religious perspective in a room full of heathens. And it was like they wanted no part of what you were selling. That, I saw the humor in that, but I'm not a fan of anybody getting kicked out. I've been kicked out of plenty of rooms. So
Anthony, let me ask you a question. You said earlier that you think America should go socialist. Why do you think that's an optimal economic model? And is that just a code word for you want to increase borrowing and spending in the future?
America, I didn't say that America should go socialist. I see no other outcome. That's my stance. I don't see any other possibility. I see the UBI on steroids as being the only plausible outcome. If you believe, like I believe, about AI, see, and it's an interesting argument that we're having on the stage about the prospects for AI. There are people that believe in the human spirit and the human ingenuity, and that, we got this. And it's just going to lead to, a golden age. And there's people that see it very, very differently. I don't know how much the people that are pushing a certain point of view actually really know about the capabilities of AI. But it is what it is. I'm no expert. I'm not writing white papers on it. So, but I just don't see another outcome.
Calm down, American. It's not white and black, bro. Anthony, the funny thing is, like you said, it is in its infancy, and I like what Joe B said. These tools that we've had, at one point they said there'd be no more paper. Remember that? They're gonna get rid of paper, and Y2K came around, and we're gonna not have. I mean, there's so much stuff that people predict, and you're right. We do have autonomous cars, and we have all these things, but I still think, for me, I'm one of those people that believe in the human spirit. I believe in God. And like the young lady said in the chat, and you know this, Anthony, why would you get kicked out of any space, me, just because I have a different standard where I believe that we should take care of our responsibility as men, that we should take care of the children that we have on the planet, that we should not be involved with women that's not our spouses, that we should not be using substance abuse to cause our families harm, that we should be responsible. I got kicked out of a space because I thought a different standard. And like what Sig said, yeah, I speak softly, but like Roger said, at the end of the day, you come from my family. I do believe in the Second Amendment very well, and my wife actually shoots better than I do. So we're not stupid people. And I tell people all the time, I believe in Christ, but at the same time, I'm going to protect my family.
Edward, I would never confuse you with a coward. I've never gotten that vibe from you. It just so happens that in the space that you were in, all of the things that you talk about, the people in that space overwhelmingly don't support it. And your standard,
The source code
was jarring. They did not even feel the need to engage with you and refute your belief system. They thought it would be more expedient to drop kick you out the room. Now, listen, I find humor in all kinds of shit. And I found humor in that as well. I didn't like the fact that you got kicked out. I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan of it. If it was up to me, you would never have gotten kicked out of there. However, it was just that, like coming in Bible thumping in a room full of heathens is crazy work, bro. And I wish you good luck with that.
Well, Anthony, I will say this to you. It's so interesting. You say Bible thumping, but everybody can thump whatever they want anytime, and everybody's okay with it. We thump the side chick. We thump chicken and the big booties and breasts. That's what we thump. We thump not taking care of our families. We believe that the people sitting around who are white, we think they're thinking about black people. They're not. So when someone comes in with a reasonable understanding, says you are 100% responsible for your own life, you have the opportunity to believe in God to get some assistance, and then all of a sudden, we promote, like Sig said, we promote LGBTQ, we support abortion, we support all these things, but no one comes in and says, hey guys, check maybe there's a different way. And you say, not you, Anthony, but the people in the room say, we don't want to hear no Bible stuff, we don't want to hear nothing about no Christian, none of it. I'm like, wow, and you're right, that day I got kicked out, I even told my wife, this is where we are today. We can't even have Discord anymore. At one point in America, we could have a conversation. We didn't disagree. And right at the end of the day, I thought it was sticks and stone would break our bones. But now we can't say gay. We can't say you got pronouns. All this stupid stuff going on, man. Men can get pregnant. We got drag queens. I'm sorry. Here's what I mean.
We can't
So, Edward, let me ask you.
It's a retard anymore.
Edward, let me ask you a direct question. Direct question. Do you think you're a religious sellout?
No, I do not. I think I'm a person who has a belief system that wants to share that system. But you can have that opinion. I don't know what that really means because I'm not a religious man at all. I just happen to believe in God. I think people like to label people. Like people say, you're ethnically black man. No, I'm ethnically responsible. No one talks about the responsibility. Most people talk about ethnicity. I hear a lot of people talk about that. But I learned this, and correct me, Anthony, is excellence, is integrity, responsibility, does that have ethnicity on it, or is that just excellence?
Not whatsoever. And if you've seen me in any of these clubhouse streets, you'll know that I certainly speak to that all the time. You know, and I get drowned out by certain people because of my belief system. So yeah, I definitely. But according to your worldview, do you think there's multiple ways to get to heaven, or only one way to get to heaven?
I don't think there's no way to get to heaven. I don't think heaven was ever the goal. Not for Edward. I was created on the earth. I was not created in heaven. I do not believe the philosophy that people have. I believe that that's why he's coming back. If heaven was our goal, I just die and go to heaven. But that's not the purpose. God never came to say, Edward, I want you to go to heaven. Actually, God wants Edward to live on earth and make sure he's doing right by the people on earth. I can't do anything